Hey everyone, Miss White here, and today we're going to learn another reading strategy uh, called making connections. And what making connections is it's when we take what we already know from somewhere and we connect it with what we're reading. But before we start, I want to go ahead and let's quickly review. So if you remember, we have talked about our reading voice that reads the words, as well as our thinking voice, which helps us to understand the words, and the distracting voice that keeps us from reading the words, right? But then we also know that from our thinking voice leads to inferring, because thinking is inferring, right? And then another strategy we learned was retelling or summarizing. And we want to start at the beginning and go from here and go to the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. Somebody wanted, but then so, right? We want to retell or summarize the story. Sometimes that helps us to understand it better. Another way we can understand it better is by making a movie in our mind. And we learned this when we talked about visualizing what we're reading. And finally, one more thing that we talked about was asking questions of the text. We want to anticipate where it's going, make predictions, ask questions. So in addition to all these things that we're already doing while we read, we also want to make connections. Okay, so you're going to need your notes out, and we want to be ready to learn, right? Make sure you have a pen or a pencil if you need it, or your digital notebook out and ready. Okay, you ready? Ready to keep going? You sure? Okay, hopefully everybody's ready, because I'm going to keep going. Okay, so today we're going to talk about making connections. And with the making connections, this is our new symbol. This is our picture for that represents this. And the outlet is the place where we're making all these connections to. From the text we're reading, we're going to put it all together here in the outlet. We're going to synthesize it. We're going to put it all together and make all these connections to one place. From the book we're reading, we're going to connect it with things in our own lives. From the book we're reading, we're going to connect it to other books or other texts. From the book that we're reading, we're going to connect it to the world around us and things that we know about the world we live in. Now, sometimes this actually applies to other things we're doing, conversations we're having, movies we're watching, TV shows. This is also a great strategy to use when we're reading in our history books or our science books or even our math books. We can take what we're learning and connect it to things that we know from all different places. So the gesture we're going to use to help us remember how we make connections looks like this. Okay, do you see how he's taking two links and putting them together? We're connecting these two pieces. We're making the connection. Okay, I'm going to hit play again, and this time I want you to do it too. Are you ready? Come on, I want all of you to do it. Okay, hopefully you're all doing it. Sometimes I wish I could have eyes in there through the screen, but by doing it, that'll help you to remember how we make connections. Okay. So, as you know, as we're making connections, another way to help us to remember how we make connections, and this is probably the best definition of making connections. It's super short, very simple, and I just want you to be thinking about how we make connections. Now, everybody here probably knows the tune of Mary Had a Little Lamb, right? Mary had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. Mary had a little lamb whose fleece was white as snow. Okay, this is why I don't sing very often. But when we sing, we're going to sing it with these lyrics, and I expect all of you to join me. Okay? Let's make sure you're singing, or at least reading with me so that it can connect, so it can sink into your mind. But I'd really like to hear you sing, okay? You ready? Okay, 3, 2, 1. When we read, we can connect what we read to our lives. When we read, we can connect to books, ourselves, the world. Okay, so we're taking what we're reading, so the making connections picture, right? We want to connect what we read to our lives, to what we read. I just lost it. We want to connect, when we read, we can connect to books, ourselves, and the world. Okay, do you see that? When we read, we can connect what we read to ourselves, to our lives, and to books we've read. Okay? It's really important that we remember that, because when we're looking at, especially like standardized stuff or in other classes, we do that all the time. And as you get older, you can do more research and more papers, and you're really going to be connecting these texts, and really we're going to do that this year too. But, so we want to make sure that we can make these connections. Okay. How can we make these connections? I bet you're going, what kind of connections are we supposed to be making? Apparently, this skipped forward again. What kind of questions can we do? So let's take a look at some of the things we can look at. This thing keeps switching on me. Stop it. Okay, guys, so let's get started. Let's take a look at these questions. How we can connect it to ourselves, to other texts, and to the world. Okay, so text to self. What does this remind me of in my life? What have I had experience that connects to this? Or, how is it different from my life? Maybe it's something I've never done. How is this different? Or maybe, how has this ever happened to me? Do I have certain feelings when I read this? Maybe I feel sad or happy. Maybe I don't for that specific text that I read. But what do I feel? Okay? Another thing we can look at is text to text. We want to compare this book to maybe something else I've read. So what does this remind me of in another book I've read? Or how is this text similar to other things I've read? How is it the same? What's different? Have I read about the same topic in another book before? And finally, we want to connect it to the world. What does this remind me of in the real world? Have I seen it personally? Have I heard about it on the news? Where is this in the world? How is this in the world? How is this similar to things that we know that are happening in the world? Okay? There's all sorts of things, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. It's just the very, very beginning of all of these things that we can connect between what we're reading and what we want to do. So I have a book, and it's called The Great Catholic Tree. And I'm not actually going to read the whole thing because it's really long. So I really just want to read this two paragraphs. I want to read this one section. I'm going to read it to you, and I'm going to show you how we can connect even something so short to all three parts. You ready? Okay. I'm going to read through it first. In the American rainforest, it is always hot. And in that heat, everything grows and grows and grows. The tops of the trees in the rainforest are called the canopy. The canopy is a sunny place that touches the sky. The animals that live there, like tons of light. Colorful parrots fly from tree to tree. Monkeys leap from branch to branch. The bottom of the rainforest is called the understory. The animals that live in the understory like darkness. There, silent snakes curl around hanging vines. Graceful jaguars watch and wait. And in this steamy environment, the great Catholic tree shoots up through the forest and emerges up through the forest and emerges above the trees. Okay, so as we look at this, my first thought is the American rainforest. Now remember, the American rainforest, there's no rainforest in the United States, are there? There are some sort of, but not in the same way of the tropical rainforest. Like this says, a tale of the Amazon rainforest. So the Amazon is not in the United States, but it says in the American. Oh, well, I know from other reading I've done, other texts, that American rainforests include North and South America. And I know that the Amazon not the online bookstore or the online store where you can buy stuff. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the Amazon rainforest that is in South America, and it might be in Central America too, but I'm not sure. But I know for sure it's in South America. And so, oh, okay, so we're talking about it probably in South America, the rainforest, okay? Now, have I ever been to a rainforest? Nope, never been to a rainforest. But you know where I have been? I've been to the Rainforest Cafe. When you go into the Rainforest Cafe, which I don't think they exist anymore, but when you go into the Rainforest Cafe, what they would try to do is try to make you feel like you were in the middle of a rainforest. They'd have all the sounds of the animals and the sounds of the rain hitting the tops of the trees and make you feel like you're in a forest with all these trees and things. Oh, I just connected that to myself. Have I ever been in a real rainforest? No, but I've been to a place where they tried to they tried to make it look like that. They tried to I can't talk. Anyways, you know what I mean. They're trying to make it look the same. Another thing, when we keep reading, the tops of the trees in the rainforest are called the canopy. Canopy. Oh, when I think of a canopy, I'm thinking of like those tent things when we're waiting at like a track meet. We're trying to stay out of the rain. Oh, so it's something that covers me. Right. So we have a canopy. So all the trees coming together. I've heard from someone else, for the world, right? I've heard that in a rainforest, it can be so dark because you walk in and all the trees, it's like a big tent over everybody. It's a big canopy that you can't even see the light. Then I keep reading, and it talks about the animals up who love the light. But then down here, there's animals who don't like the light. Huh. That makes sense. If down below it's really dark, then they're going to have to be okay living in darkness. But if they like the light, they're going to have to be able to get up close to the light. Right? I can connect that just by picturing a forest. I've been in forests. And I can picture how sometimes in the forest, the trees are really tall and they're over me. And so I can kind of see that there'd be light closer to the top and darkness towards the bottom. So now I've connected this. I've connected it to me. I've connected it to the world. Where is it at? What's going on? And I've connected this with other books I've read. Do you see this? I was able to connect this to all three parts. Now it's your turn. You guys are going to partner up again, the same partners that you used before. You guys need to go back to Google Classroom. Find the reading assignment. I posted it under announcements. Announcements. Go ahead and read that article with your partner. And then I want you guys to think about these same questions and make connections to yourself, to the world, or to other things you've read. Show me your thinking. Show me your inferring. Show me in your comments. Okay? And I'm going to go ahead and pause it right here on these questions so that it can help you keep up with what am I saying? Help you stay on task and know what you're looking for in the text. Go ahead and pause it now.